Hello, everybody. We're just going to hang on just for another couple of minutes before we start. We've got a large number of registrations. We can see a large number of people coming in, and we just thought we would hang on just a few minutes to make sure everybody can join us. Okay, I think I'm going to start off. My name's Steve Harley from ACS. Welcome to the second in our weekly webinar series. Today we have the lovely Nicola Miller from Microsoft to take us through Microsoft Teams. And at the end of that, what we'll do is we'll leave the questions open during this period, but we're going to take the questions at the end and we'll open it into a bit of a broader chat about what we found about using Teams and how that's worked in the wider workspace. Just so you're aware, these are weekly. We do have a full program over the coming weeks of webinars that hopefully people will find of benefit. Next week's webinar is on Hack Your Home Workspace with an ergonomics expert, which can certainly help us be comfortable whilst working remotely and at home. And if you'd like to register for that, you can do so on our website, which is acs365.co.uk/webinar. So without further ado, I will hand over now to Nicola. Nicola, over to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Hi all, many thanks for joining today. Today we're going to take you through the Ultimate Teams webinar. As Stephen said, my name is Nicola and I am a Modern Workplace BDM on the SureStep team at Microsoft. And during this time, I'll run through a breakdown of the Microsoft team and the 6 key functionalities within Teams. And I'll also give you a quick overview of the business voice. And this will not be death by PowerPoint, I promise. But essentially, the key features will make up the Teams today. So here we have 6 key areas. We've got activities. Activities is tailored to notifications, and these notifications only show what you want. And we've got chats area, which is all your private communications for one-to-one or one-to-many chats. And then we've got a Teams area, which is your main hub of collaboration. Teams channels can be separated per department or per project, and followed by the meetings area, which enables you to get things done. And now they're the persistent chat. And we've got an instant communication through the call features, and the calling is built on the foundations of Skype. And finally, we've got the files, which essentially is a SharePoint built directly into Microsoft Teams. So first up is the activities area, which is in the tabs on Teams. This shows you all your notifications across the chats and Teams as part of. Now, notifications can be tailored either by favoritising a team or favoriting a channel. In the activities section, you'll be able to receive notifications for the app mentions for specific channels or others you follow. This is similar to Outlook, where you can press the @ key, which will enable you to tag a specific person in an individual or channels. This can also send alerts and notifications, and this will trigger. This will also happen even if you're not on a favourite nor following a channel or a team. The activity feed will also alert you for any incoming or missed calls, which ensures you are not missing any important activities and catch up when necessary. And this also is the case when it comes to conversations that you've been involved in. So say that you're on a Teams and someone has started a thread asking for ideas on a project. If you sent a reply, and any other replies that come from that will send through to an alert. Also, if anyone reacts to your messages or posts, this will also be alerted. And to summarize, as you can see on the left-hand side, if I've selected a notification, we'll also open the full notifications menu where I can track any activities. So here we have the chat area and the chat tab, which holds all the one-to-one and group conversations and meetings. Chats can be divided by either pinning the chat or you can pin your recent chats. For colleagues and groups in which you speak to on a daily basis, it would make sense to pin these chats so it stays at the top of the screen and never moves. This makes it much easier to send a message or review past messages because I know exactly where I can go within the chat and that I have a conversations tab. This is also the same when it comes to files and whiteboarding. You can also rename the chats, say that you're working on a project or just want an instant communication with a small group of people. You can rename and pin that chat so you can quickly communicate. The conversations tab is where all the chats will be placed. Within the files, this is where you can host all the files which will be necessary to the conversations. And the whiteboarding tab allows brainstorming ideas, etc. Things that you would normally use a whiteboard for. For example, a user might set up a group where they're pulling somebody in from HR, PR, finance, marketing, or a senior leadership team, and everyone can open up the whiteboarding app. And all of a sudden, everyone's starting to use their specific skill sets and they're collaborating on a project and seeing if it's possible or not possible. Specific workarounds, etc. And before you know it, we've completely changed how we mean of the world of collaboration in real time. At the start of the meeting, it creates a brand new chat and adds all the participants into that chat, meaning all recordings of the meetings which have already been transcribed through the power of Microsoft Stream is going to be held here for future review. And for fun, the chats allow you to send GIFs and memes and lighten the conversation, and different people work in different ways, but Microsoft can certainly make use of the features. As a feature coming to chat, the ability to pop out a chat into separate windows. Users of Skype for Business now appreciate this function, which allows you to have a call on a full screen on one monitor and you can have chats on another. So then we're going to move on to Teams, the main area within Teams that holds all of the channels and respective conversations, files, members, and guests where the connections tabs. Microsoft Teams allows you to add guest users to Teams without putting your organization's corporate data at risk. On the subject of security, out of interest, how many people use WhatsApp to communicate corporate information or talk about work? Out of those people who use WhatsApp, how many of those think that WhatsApp is going to be safe enough because it's encrypted? And what is actually stopping anyone from the organization from using WhatsApp? And the answer is nothing. No one is stopping you from doing this, or by using the power of Microsoft Teams, corporate data is held in a safe and securely, and also ensures that everything is kept in one specific location. A lot of people use WhatsApp because it is so easy. It's on their mobiles and it's also going to go on Teams with the Teams application, which is its counterpart, and it looks and feels exactly the same as a desktop application. So you can keep everything in one place securely, and it's ease of use because they mirror each other. Teams can also be divided. You can either favorite or hide teams within team sections, or you can have additional tabs. These are conversation tabs, files tabs, and wiki pads. And the first two tabs you're already pretty familiar with, but the wiki tab means that you can actually create a Wikipedia page just for your team. You can also use the plus button. And what this allows you to do is to add any connectors, documents, and websites. To give you an idea of the connectors, say that your business has a Twitter support line, a way of your customers to reach out to you regarding support issues. Well, with the connections, you can actually put Twitter into that and put that directly into the Teams and then get the notifications and any response to the Teams within your Teams application. You can add a huge amount of third parties and Microsoft connections in here, and it allows you to consolidate activities within teams. A user can have up to 99 teams and limited channels, and after the most recent update, 5,000 members in the same team. Conversations are also threaded, so rather than an Outlook where you send emails and you get a reply and it gets a bit convoluted very quickly, with Teams threads you can actually see who's typing, you can mention people, you can at people, and you can also respond and react to people's messages. So everyone becomes a lot more human. And on the human element, you can also communicate these stickers, memes, and GIFs to complete at your disposal. An amazing feature within Teams is the inline translator. If you work with a customer, partner, or colleagues across different countries and the different languages, it isn't an issue. Each individual types their own native language, click on an ellipsis, and they receive the message and it quickly translates it into their own language. A new feature which literally just rolled out allows you to pin channels as well as teams. And a lot of us will end up being a big part of teams for our organisations with lots of channels to watch. But we might only really be interested in a couple of them. You can pin channels that you're interested in, and they can pop up on your Teams list so you can quickly go into them and get the updates. Next, we have a Teams meeting within the meeting area, and meetings are powered by artificial intelligence, specifically the scheduling assistant, and what the scheduling assistant can do. So the scheduling assistant can can read the calendar of any persons who you're trying to invite to a meeting within your organisation, and it will tell you the best time to book a meeting. This takes away all of the work that would normally do by arranging meetings, and it can set these meetings up automatically online. So we no longer have to select whether this is a Teams meeting or not. And of course, you can also choose to schedule Teams meeting in Outlook. When meetings start, everyone is invited to the chat, whether you're actually attending the meeting or not. You can see the questions, chat and ask the links and files and shared it even if they're not in there. And the meetings can be recorded. And so they're stored in Microsoft Stream. When a meeting is recorded, the recording is posted in the chat to the meeting once it's finished, allowing you to easily watch it back. What makes Teams even better and more inclusive is that they transcribed all the recorded meetings. So if you've hard of hearing or want to search for a particular point, you can do this with Microsoft Stream. There are also two types of Teams meetings. We've got private meetings and channel meetings. A channel meeting is within the Teams channel, and it automatically adds everyone who has access to that channel. Think of a scenario where you might want to do a monthly update or a clinic. Private meetings are when most accustomed to meetings which are set out in Teams or outlets specific for specific individuals are invited and forwarded into the invitation. These are all good access in terms of the chat and files, and within each team this is persistent and remains even if the meeting has ended. Our meeting abilities are constantly updated, and we're introducing background blur, which will also help you work from anywhere without any background distractions. And coming very soon, we're going to have custom backgrounds, which allows you to upload pictures to change your background as it suits for the purpose of your meeting and obviously your personality. And a couple additional features are meeting transcriptions and background noise reductions. These are to be released soon, but the meeting transcription performance, the same task that would be when you record a meeting without need to recording it. It is a great accessibility feature, or removes the need for you to take notes in a meeting. Background noise reduction does exactly that. Most of us are working from home now, but now we find ourselves interrupted by dishwashers or washing machines or possibly children, or even in future we sat in a coffee shop or in a building site. Background noise reduction removes the distraction and it allows the meeting to focus on the actual voice. So next up we have the calling features. This is built on the foundations of Skype for Business. And if you're calling from a channel within Teams site, the channel can join and view both recordings of the call and the chat whilst or after the call has taken place. Chat in Teams is persistent, as seen on the right-hand side of the screen. During the call, any messages that have taken place will appear in the conversation panel, and after the meeting is finished, the same will happen in calls with one of the one-to-one or one-to-many. Unlike Skype for Business, where the meeting chat was once lost, the call once the loss was called, once it was closed, the chat remains persistent and you can continue to chat, share and retrieve files even if the call has finished. Some of the key features within the call area are the same as those in the meeting. So blur my background, customize backgrounds and integrating Microsoft Stream for recordings, the transcription and the secure way we share our screens. These are just some of the reasons why Teams has raised the bar in communication and collaboration. One of the biggest pieces of feedback we've had recently is around that we only have 4 video shares on the screen at one time. We've heard feedback and the engineering team are working on actually trying to make this to 6 in future. And right now you can pin individuals into your screen if you want to watch one person in particular. Share My Screen has evolved, so you can now choose and share to specific windows rather than an entire screen, and switching screens is easier. A new presenter click share and also the screen will switch over. A new feature coming soon is the raise the hand feature. And if you are in a Teams call with lots of participants and want to enable the individual to speak, share their thoughts, etc., then you can actually inevitably pause and when you ask the question. And then for a few more, can actually jump in as and when. Raising the hand feature allows individuals to digitally indicate whether they have a question or comment, and the speaker then address them in turn, allowing everyone to have a voice in the meeting. Many customers add additional calling capabilities into Teams with phone systems, which you can use your PBX, audio conferencing and PSTN calling with either Microsoft calling plans, which we'll also cover off shortly, or a third-party calling plan. The Teams live event, which we're on today, is lesser known in Teams, but is an incredibly useful tool. Built on the foundations of Skype for Business, Skype meeting broadcast, it provides one-to-many communications platform. So, for example, if a CEO wants to deliver a message to their organisation but doesn't need the audience to speak on a call, but would like them to have the ability to text to ask questions, live meetings is the right platform. And in Microsoft, we use team live events with our partners as webinars. Teams live event also allows you to select a speaker, both internally and externally speakers, and add them to the Teams live event. The Teams producer has the attendees link, which was also be able to marketing communications and allows seamless to join into webinars for an internet browser. Attendees can ask questions in the Q&A window, which you can do today, and the Teams live event platform are we using right now to deliver this training to you. So lastly, we have the files area in Teams. So the files tab relates to all of your most recently used documents, no matter where you access from within Teams, whether it be in the channel, the chat, or the meetings. Files is built on SharePoint and it brings with you the functionality. You can also choose to open up files in SharePoint where you can access the version history, restore previous versions, or just use the SharePoint as an interface. Files can be opened, viewed and edited all within Teams, and this can be completed in real-time collaboration within anyone who wants to be editing a document at the same time. Users can also talk to and work with other editors of the document, all within a single application. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's also a button called Meet Now, and this will instantly call everyone who is on that document. So as long as you're working on a solid internet connection, you can all meet together. And to summarize, wherever you can access and work from the document, same as someone else in Teams. Microsoft Teams brings truly collaboration to the workforce. The presentations I'm showing you today have been worked on collaboratively between between ACS and Microsoft to share the teams, and we've actually contributed these contents in the same file. So the last piece we want to just cover off is the Microsoft 365 Business Voice. Launched only in the UK and Canada in November and literally just soon to be released globally, Business Voice is a solution aimed at our SMB customers to allow them to take advantage of the phone systems, conferencing and call plans from Microsoft in the package solution with SMB's friendly price tag. Since launching, it's been hugely popular within the UK, and we're looking at ways to update the previous PBX and conferencing solutions and simplifies licensing. And we're also a fan of Microsoft Teams. So let's just dig a little bit deeper on the Business Voice. So Business Voice allows you to transform how we work and how we get things done by unified calling, chats, meeting, calendars, and emails. Calling, chats, and meetings in a single application. We've covered the features and benefits of Microsoft Teams, and Business Voice adds to this and allows you to simplify your organization's communications by unifying calls with chats and meetings within the Microsoft Teams. Making meetings inclusive with built-in audio conferencing. The Business Voice SKU gives the conferencing capabilities, which allows you the flexibility to add a dial-in number to every Teams meeting. Make sure everyone heard in the meeting with an AI power caption and the translator up to 250 attendees. Microsoft Teams and Business Voice give the unified contacts and the calendar across Teams and Outlook. Collaborate in Office apps within each call and meeting and share files through the Teams. And finally, transforms your phone into a collaborative tool. A lot of individuals have a phone at work and a personal phone. Business Voice enables you to separate your work life and your home life, and it allows the customer and the colleagues and the partners to call you in your Teams and not call your personal telephone number. So the next thing you might wondering is what the devices landscape looks like. Everyone's device landscape looks different, and users want the variety of different devices for work. We know the variety and the quality is critical and the success to the team. Microsoft have gone to great lengths to list partners that are expanding a portfolio of Teams certified devices. We want you to have a power of Business Voice and the Teams at your fingertips. So you can have native experiences that optimize for spaces that are working in, and only with certified for Microsoft Teams devices, which are tested in independent labs to meet a high bar for video and audio quality. You can be sure that you're getting devices that are best Business Voice and Teams integrated, supported by Microsoft and our certified partners. For the users that are mostly at their desks and for more comfortable using desk phones, picking up the receiver, we have over 70 plus devices across the broad price range that will bring full features to life. For the individual workers, to the admin who need a larger screen to work off, and there's something for everyone in terms of the workers. Non-certified devices will work with call in and call out, but you can't access advanced features beyond the basic calling. For those often call in from various locations, comfortable using the app on the computer, Microsoft has certified over 90 peripherals, including headsets, speakers, cameras to your product life. You can also bring your own peripheral devices. We can also guarantee the quality of these devices. Do not forget about the conferencing rooms and shared spaces. Shared spaces require equipment that makes meetings styles bring the best of the footfall forward. From videos to room size and audio and Microsoft capabilities, Microsoft can certify over 30 devices that include conferencing room system bundles, individual conferencing room phones, and camera equipment and consoles. Microsoft offer certified devices, high quality videos and audio, enterprise grade security, and also setup and management. To browse all the Teams certified devices, simply search in your preferred search engine to explore these devices. And finally, just have a look at the business voice SKUs. We offer 2 SKUs in the UK market. On the left, we have the business voice SKUs, which includes phone systems, audio conferencing, domestic call plans with up to 1,200 minutes per user per month. The other business voice without call plan, also known as direct routing, enables you to bring your own SIP trunk in and call plans, and this includes phone systems and audio conferencing. Some things to note: licenses are sold per month per user, and when purchasing plans with calling plans, the minutes are pooled at the tenant level and all licensed users have access to the minutes. The maximum seats required within the tenant is 300, and qualifying prerequisites are Office 365 Business Premium, Business Essentials, and Microsoft 365 Business E1, E3, A1, A3, and Microsoft 365 E3 and A3. To dial out to an international number, depending on the requirements of the customer, can either be purchased from an international call plan or utilising the communications credits. Communications credits acts as a wallet, so a credit is put within used in the overall, excuse me, which is used in the overall of the purchase of the minutes for international call-ins. So if you don't have a call-in plan or a dial out from the conference, the communications credits is set up automatically when the license is provisioned, and the credits, however, must be added manually by the customer. Unfortunately, the partner can't sell these via CSP. So this is the last slide. So this is just a bit about best practice, essentially. I just want to summarize really what we've learned around deploying the teams, as well as being through what's going from Microsoft. We're also sharing you some of the best practice points in terms of from our personal journey with teams. So in terms of best practice on deploying teams is keeping the number of team sites to a minimum. Use teams to represent physical teams within your organisation, so i.e. marketing or sales, etc. Using channels to break down these teams into specific areas rather than creating lots of teams. A lot of organisations restrict users from creating teams with themselves, as you end up with something that's called team sprawl, where you end up with large numbers of large unused teams. This did happen actually at Microsoft, and what we did was, instead of taking away the user's ability to create the teams, as the teams would be useful in creating the shared team and with external parties, instead we nominated champions in each of our teams who worked together to come up with structure, and then trained everyone else on the process, the structure, and going forward. We use the mobile version of Teams as well as the desktop version. The mobile version is a great tool and replaces WhatsApp in the chat conversation for mobile devices. This both prevents a split conversation and users struggling to search for a previous conversation, and it keeps all your corporate chat in a corporate managed application. Use chat not just for one-to-one, but one-to-many. Use it for virtual teams and projects instead of creating team sites. And don't forget, you can rename and pin these chats wherever you find to get the quickest accessibility. And add and be proactive with only necessary topics. Don't flood everyone's teams with chats and sites unless it's necessary, because this just prevents sprawl. And the things we don't recommend doing: so automatically force favorites with team sites and channels. Allow your users to choose what they want to listen to, and remember, you can create your app mentions for people in channels, and this gets their attention when you want to deliver a message. Create teams. Don't create teams for the sake of it. Think about the purpose and delete it once you've done. Message everyone at once. Think about the context of your message and what you want to see in it. And not be active when it comes to taking time to learn about Teams. Sign up for blogs and offers and champions. Teams will update and it will add new features, and hopefully this will be good to keep an eye on what's going on in terms of the landscape and what goes on with the organisation. Teams is a bit of an evolving piece at the moment, and especially with what's going on currently, we're adding more and more, and we're trying to obviously make sure that actually that we're being in line with as much as we can and actually listening to your feedback. So one thing I would say is give us the feedback that you want to see from Teams, because that's where our power comes from, is the end users. So I hope you've enjoyed the Ultimate Teams webinar and the deep dive into the key features. If you'd like to learn more, then please do not hesitate to ask questions. You can either do it offline or in the Q&A section. Digital transformation is something we're interested in, so please do reach out to resellers and Microsoft, so we're here to support and empower you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Nicola. I've just got a few questions that have come in during the course of the webinar, and I'll also share a little bit about ACS's journey with Teams, how we've been using it in the previous year or two, and in the last couple of weeks, and how that's evolving. I'll just run through a couple of the questions, and we can talk a little bit more about how we've used it then. The first question was, can you create an action within a meeting? So I think that's when you're within a meeting call using meeting notes, can you create an action that will go into a OneNote and Outlook, etc. I'm not aware, Nicola, unless you are, I don't think you can do that at the moment with the notes.
Not currently, but that is something that we are looking at. You can do it on the to-do list. You can actually obviously download the to-do list and put that in within the Teams. But yeah, that'd be my only bit for the moment. But as I say, we've got quite a lot coming. Okay,
so that answers that one. I've got two more here. I'm going to kind of do them a little bit out of order, so I can just get the flow right here. I've got a question that's come up from Graham Schofield. He says, we have a US office, or when is Business Voice planned to be rolled out for the US, and when is it in the UK and US implementations of Business Voice work together, or do they need to be separate implementations? So I was under the impression that Business Voice is already available in the States and had been for some time.
I am under the impression it's been released this week in the United States. I can come back and just confirm that with you. So when it got rolled out originally, it was only the United Kingdom and Canada. So we were the pilot countries for this, and because it has been it's taken off so well. As I say, I think I've seen something on LinkedIn this week in terms of it's actually rolled out in the US this week. However, I can come back to you. So if you take the details, I can get the supporting information with that.
Brilliant. Okay, well, Graham, what we'll do is we've got your registration details, so we'll reach out to you after this call. There's one more that's just popped up now. Oh, there's a few more here. So what I'll do is I'm just going to deal with the ones that are with regards to the Business Voice questions, and then Jason, you've asked a question about new users and how we get started. I really want to get onto that as well in a moment, because I think we can certainly share some experience there. So if you could just bear with us a few minutes. There's a question here: can you record all telephone calls made via Teams? I'm not sure if you're there you go, Nicola, you're on mute then.
Sorry, I wasn't. Sorry, I've had a bit of a coughing fit then, so apologies.
All right. So the question was, can you record all telephone calls made via Teams?
So is this by literally, okay, so I'm not 100% sure on that one. So in terms of meetings and anything you are doing, in terms of you can record, in terms of, I don't think you can, but I could say it's something I could double check and say there's lots of features that are rolling out as quick as we can kind of keep up with them at the moment. So that's something I can come back to you about, if that's all right. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I've got a question here from Sam as well, again in this in the vein of calls and conferencing, which I think I can answer quite happily. So good morning. In regards to 365 voice, you mentioned a dial-in conference number to join a Teams meeting. Could you go into a little bit more detail about this? Is this a specific local number? Or is it always a UK number? There are, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nicola, but on Teams, when you have dial-in conferencing capability, there are local numbers for an awful lot of countries. I can't remember the exact number, but pretty much, you know, all the major places have got a local dial-in number, so people can dial in locally to wherever they are, so not charged for an international call.
That's correct.
Excellent. There you go. Nailed that one. Right. So just going to drop back to Jason's question, and really it was, as someone learning about Teams for pretty much the first time, technologically speaking, this could be quite overwhelming. I can see how very experienced users will use a large percentage of the systems. Are you able to outline how new users begin to use Teams and what functions in particular they use most? I can give you a little bit of insight based on our own experience, Jason. So the first thing really is just to start using it and to start creating teams. We have been using it now for a couple of years. I think more heavily in the last 12 months, particularly around our service team, have been driving a lot of that, setting up various teams for different client accounts. And I would echo from the tips that actually you're probably better off creating multiple channels within a team than having lots and lots of teams, because you do get that sprawl and how that moves on. Over the last year, we've been doing that. In the last few weeks, obviously with everything else that's gone on, that's become much more used tool within our organisation. So we're using it a lot now to keep in touch with our people. We're using that to kind of replicate a little bit of the office environment and the office kind of banter, as well as that work communication, and to try and keep control of the emails. As far as how do you start from an end user point of view, I would start with the Teams tab, create a small team, join a few group of people and start to play. If you are a managed service customer, and Jason, I believe you are, then you should have access to our Clip training portal as well, and that's got a whole Microsoft Teams self-paced training scheme and training plan there, little short few minute videos at a time that will orientate you around the tools, and so you can build up that knowledge piecemeal rather than trying to go in full bore and use every feature within the platform straight away. And if you haven't got access to that, if you just drop support a line, they will sort that out for you. If you're not a managed service customer, then again, you know, if you get in touch, I'm sure we can point you in direction of some useful tools and training around that. And of course, we can organise specialist training as well. So I mean, hopefully that helps a little bit. The functions we use most are really that Teams chat, the meetings, the video calling capability. That's been a big thing. So I've got a few more questions here as well that I'm just going to move on to and try and make sure we hit as many. There's one here. I think there is a feature to restrict users of channels within a team. How is this done by the admins? When you create a team, the owner can add and can select whether a team is private or public within the organisation, and you can then invite who you want to join to that team. So if you set that as private and the owner only invites those particular people, then that will stop other people from being able to join in. Nicola might have some more details about admin control that I'm unaware of, yeah, Nicola.
No, I think you've pretty much nailed it on the head. So in terms of the admin control, yeah, it's all really done from the admin side. So you can give specific users certain user rights, and it's kind of done in that user right piece. So yeah, so pretty much what Stephen said, it's all pretty much done in your admin. Certain users can get higher rights than others. You can restrict rights for other people as well.
And then I've got another a couple of questions. Good morning. Can you save chat text? It's persistent anyway, so it is saved anyway within within Teams itself. I don't know if you can export it at all, Nicola. Do you know?
You can save it. Obviously, it's based on SharePoint, but what you can do, if you right-click on the actual chat yourself, you can actually save it as a favorite.
Okay.
So you can actually go back into it. So there's certain points. So within our BDM community, we have lots of chats with lots of different things that comes up. So if there's something particular that I want, I actually just save it. I star it essentially, like you would do in any other bit. So you can save those as your favorites, and then it saves that piece for you. So they certainly go, oh, I'm going to definitely need that at some point. Then you can just save that in your favorites piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And can we send it by email? Well, you can actually send into chats via email. So each chat will have an email address that you'll be able to send and include in. I'm not sure whether it will email out. It certainly emails a notification if you've missed chats, I think, Nicola. But can you export a chat to an email, send it out?
No, I don't believe you can. As I say, you get the notification if you're missing something, but generally what you would do is if you want to chat with somebody from, say, externally out of your organization, you can just put that in the top corner, and it connects to Skype as well. So for instance, if somebody is still on Skype for business, then they can it'll find its way via the email address. So it still keeps with the collaboration piece in terms of the chat function, but it won't go into email, but it will go into whatever collaboration tool they're using.
Brilliant. Just a couple of more here that are coming in. So before I move forward, my colleague Christy, who is Queen of Teams at ACS in the service department, is madly messaging me saying, Planner, talk about Planner, talk about Planner. So if you're not aware, Planner is another application in the Office 365 suite, or the Microsoft 365 suite as it is now, which has the ability to give you some project management capabilities, and you are able to add that as a tab within Teams, and be able then to track actions and project, etc. So that might help with that. Can you create an action within a meeting? Maybe not directly in a meeting, but certainly within a team question that we had. There's a few more here. I'm going to just rattle through them. I've got, hi there, is it possible to add a guest to a meeting if the guest does not have an Office 365 account? You can have a guest into the meeting if they don't have a full licensed Office 365 account. I think they need a live ID though, if I'm right, Christy? Christy, Nicola even. That's because Christy was messaging.
I was waiting for Christy to talk then, sorry. Sorry.
You don't need a full Office 365 account, do you, to join a team?
No, you don't, no.
So there you go. So that answers that question. Steph asked, can you include people from outside your organisation? And if so, is there a security risk? Well, you can add, Christy, stop messaging me. You can add people from outside your organisation into a team. I don't think you can restrict it to a specific channel. So anything that is in that team then is obviously then visible to that person from outside your organisation. So you need to bear in mind when you create a team who you're adding and making sure people understand whether they're internal or they're public teams, as in public and externally facing, although they will see who's been added to that team. So that should really address the security risk. They can't see other teams other than the one that you add them to, though, if I remember rightly. Nicola, have I got any of that wrong? Can you now secure it down to a specific channel within the team?
No, what you've just said is exactly right. So yeah, if you've got people that come in, then you can only within that team that you're in. Brilliant.
So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so you need to be conscious about what you're sharing, how you're sharing. But we do find it useful when we're doing project to include the customer in those teams, so that they're able to see what's happening and can see, for example, John Forbes just messaged me. Yes, we use that collaboration to share 3D visuals on a design, for example, so that people can see the latest drawings that are being used. So it is a really useful tool as well, albeit, as you say, you need to be conscious that there is that that risk. Graham's asked, expanding on the saving chat text from a compliance point of view, are these saved and can all chats be searched at a later date? Nicola?
Yeah, I mean, you can hide some chats. I mean, obviously you get a lot of chats within that within the feature. You can hide them and they reappear as and when, so you can go back through them. So they just sit, as I say, they sit on your SharePoint. So in terms of if you want to go back to them, then yes, I mean, that's obviously all down to how you what you do in your administration rights. Do you want to lose chats after a year? That's kind of down to those bits. So in terms of how you set that up. Yeah,
so it's all admin controlled, so you've got that peace of mind if you need to keep the keep that in the background. So I'm just going to move that one off. Hopefully that answers that. And is there a time scale on when there will be an update from 4 videos to 6 videos on the video chat screen?
No, there isn't. I know it's a very, very hot topic at the moment, given obviously this is something, if I'm being really honest, this is something that's obviously came out since the pandemic, and it's something that everyone really, really wants. So it's in its infancy. We had a meeting with Mark Brownell, who actually is the cloud solution architect for Teams 2 weeks ago, and I know they're working really hard to try and get that feature out as soon as we can, because we appreciate it's not necessarily kind of it's what the consumer or the end user wants to use. So there is no time frame on it, but I know that they're working really hard on getting that done.
Okay, so yeah, and I would just say that there's also the roadmap website for I'm going to keep calling it Office 365. I'm afraid, Nicola. It's going to take me a little while to catch up with the rebrand, but there is a roadmap that shows all the features that are coming on Office 365 that you can see, and you'll get updates from there on the website. I forget the link, but we'll get it published out to everybody as well. So we have another one here. If only 4 faces are allowed, how do you decide who is viewed on screen? Customer wants to use for sign language. Oh, that's a really good question. That's a really good question.
That is a very good question. Yeah. So I haven't actually done it, if I'm being honest with you. So I can have a look at it and send you the actual doc from Microsoft, because I wouldn't want to answer it. I would imagine there'll be an option on the screen of actually who you choose and prioritize on that screen. But as I say, I can get that information to you, because I wouldn't want to. It's not something I've actually actively done myself, if I'm being honest with you.
No. We'll have a look at that and see if we can't get that. Information, Taryn, because that would be useful. I know that the default is that it's the last 4 people that have made a noise. Yes. That will be on the screen. So, but obviously that doesn't help with sign language. So, so we need to look at that. So, Connor, I'm getting messages from pretty much everybody at ACS at the moment saying, mention this feature, talk about this.
There are so many features within Teams. It's very difficult to try and get them all in a half an hour.
Connor Slasberger said, could you mention live captioning during the video calling? So that's the ability for the system to automatically put live captions based on what you're speaking about on the video screen.
Yeah, so you can do that, and certainly if you're doing meetings or webinars or live events, then you can translate. So if you have got a customer that you say, for instance, that you're dealing with in Sofia, and English is obviously not their first language, then you could change it over to Bulgarian. So whilst you're having the conversation, I think the English is like the second difficult language to learn. So in terms of, because we do come out of all different funny words sometimes, and we have obviously our localisms essentially in regionalized conversation words, so you can put that on there. So in terms of meetings, webinars, live events, anything along those lines, you can put the captioning on, so you can create a bespoke captioning for the person that in terms of your captured audience. So if you want it in Bulgarian, then they can actually have it in Bulgarian.
So I've got two more questions here. Is there any major difference between the Office 365 Teams and the free version of Teams as regards facilities and features?
Yeah, so the free version of Teams currently, so is this the Teams trial we're talking about that's out, or is this just
so.
the general?
I think
Yeah.
there are versions at the moment just because of what's been going on in the world as well, being published out.
There's two trials that Microsoft have put out at the moment. So we've got the free Teams, which is something that's actually ongoing. It's something that was actually out prior to obviously the pandemic that we're going through currently. And there's a free E1 license at the moment as well. So this really is to facilitate anybody that's working from home. So the E1 license, you get the more full suite of Teams rather than the Teams the actual free Teams trial, if I can get my words out, sorry, that is a bit more of a restricted version. So if it's something that you are looking to do, then maybe that the E1 license might be something that kind of could whet your appetite, probably because you'll get the online version of everything as well.
Okay, so there's a few more questions. That's brilliant, thank you. That's a few more questions just around that kind of licensing thing that we'll just touch on. Apologies if I missed this during the purchasing section, but is Teams available to a business outside of purchasing a full Business 365 license?
I'd have to come back to you on that one. License isn't really my hotspot, I'm gonna say, so I can take that question and can come back to you with that if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, I believe that the full version is kind of the Business Essentials equivalent, but we'll clarify that. You've answered that anonymously. If you could just drop me a note, we'll make sure we get that answer directly to you as well. So that one. We have a question here: can we transfer incoming calls in voice, and can we allocate existing DDI banks to voice?
Don't know about the DDIs. In terms of transferring calls, yes, you can do forwarding, so you can do that, but I can, again, if you capture that question, then I can try and find that information out for you, but I don't know about the DDI.
But again, you're anonymous there, so again, if you could just drop us a note after this, we'll make sure we get the answer to you for that. And then I've got two other things that have come up here. First of all, Connor Slasberg has said that he will donate £5 to charity if I mention the fact that I'm an Iron Man. I am an Iron Man. And so that's you stuff there, Connor. Sophie has asked, do you use any of the add-on features at all? Because there are a huge load of add-ons, aren't there, available to Teams now from other publishers. I think in ACS, I have to be honest, I don't think we use many of them. There are a couple of Twitter linkages we use in some of the teams to monitor for different things. So hashtags or particular traffic that we want to keep an eye out for in the awful word Twitter sphere. But other than that, I'm not aware that we're using any add-ins in ACS, but there are loads, aren't there, Nicola?
Oh, there's absolutely loads on there. So in terms of you looking the application piece, I mean, we don't really, if I'm being honest with you, we utilize it as a tool mainly for the SharePoint. It's a godsend for us because obviously we have so much information and Microsoft moves at such a pace. We have updates left, right and centre, and we get lots of questions around lots of different various subjects in that sense. So in terms of when we put any collateral or anything along those lines, then we just generally use it in terms of the SharePoint. And if anything, I think the biggest probably thing we use is the GIFs most of the time, just to keep our morale up. But yeah, no, not necessarily, if I'm being honest with you, but in essence, I would say certainly from an MSP point of view, in terms of that Twitter piece and the feed, I think that's like quite a critical one for you guys.
Okay, so I think that is all of the questions that we've had. Hopeful. No, it's one more. DDI. Oh, right. So Milan's, yes. So Milan will. Milan, I'll get back to you on the DDI question. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Look, guys, we've obviously overran massively here. Teams is a huge topic at the moment, as we're all obviously changing the way that we work. It's been absolutely central within ACS to keeping in touch and keeping collaborating. And I'd encourage any business to make some time and to embrace it. Karen's just asked, is the webinar being recorded and can we watch it at a later date? Yes, it is. And we will be sharing a link out so that you can watch it at a later date. And so that will certainly be going around to everybody that's participated. So we'll have that there. Any more before I call it a close? No, brilliant. Karen, thank you ever so Karen, Nicola. Oh, hey,
Karen, Christy.
Thank you ever so much, Nicola, for
thank you for having me.
Laying it on. And again, just one last reminder, we have different webinars every week on a Wednesday morning. Next week's is how to hack your workspace, making sure that you're sitting comfortably at home, and there's a full schedule of what we've got coming up, and there are some very interesting ones there. acs365.co.uk/webinar. Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, everybody. Have a lovely day.